Hello, good evening. Welcome to Ubuntu channel. As usual, today is Friday, and on Friday we bring to you nothing but a program called Ubuntu Sports. And today we are live with Lameck and Lawrence to look at the news that has been trending in terms of Zambian football. Good evening, Lameck, and good evening, Lawrence. Welcome to Ubuntu Sports.
Yes, good evening, Reuben and Lawrence. It's a beautiful Friday, another Friday to talk about sports and all things to do with Zambian football.
Yeah, good evening, Reuben, and a sportful program this evening.
Great. To our viewers, as usual, share to as many as possible. Tell them that Ubuntu Sports is live. Again, we'll be talking everything to do with Zambian football. Like the gents have said, will help you understand exactly what is happening. Guys, let's start with the under 20 performance. I'm sure you watched the games, how we played against Gambia, how we played against Tunisia, and the first game was against Benin. One draw, two losses. Lameck, you can go first.
I think a lot has been said already regarding the performance of the under 20s, but I think we had a very good team, a young team with a lot of talent to their disposal. I think one of the problems that we had were the tactics employed by a coach. For me, I was so much on the tactics because the coaches failed to read the game in almost all three games. When the opponent, played around with their formation to attack the Zambia team differently, the coaches maintained the same formation that they started with. And the coach continuously used the same formation in all three matches. So I think that also contributed to the poor performance. And then again, the stage may have been bigger for one or two players in the team, but I think it was just the approach by the technical bench that really let us down. On any day, I think the players can deliver. And then if you look at their performances at their respective clubs, I think all players have decent stats to their names. So difficult to accept one draw, two losses. It is really difficult to accept that this is where we are, considering that we qualified as COSAFA champions. A lot was expected from the team. The fans were expectant of what the boys could do. We wanted to watch, in as much as we lost, we wanted to watch good football, but we did not get that. So that also contributed to the frustration that the team had. I think the Gambia game was a winnable match. The Tunisia match was a winnable match. I continuously insist on the tactics. I think the coaches got their tactics very wrong.
I'll come back to you, Lameck, but let me go to Lawrence. Lawrence, 3 games, 2 goals scored by the boys. Lameck is describing it as a poor performance. I don't know how you take it.
Well, I think when we were playing some friendlies leading up to the tournament, I mean, we looked like we are going to achieve. We are going to pull up from the performance going into the tournament, but the 1-1 draw with Benin, actually, for me, that should have been one game we should have utilized and want to boost our confidence. On paper, Benin should not have given us so much problems. And drawing with them, I think, gave us a sign that something was not going right in the team, and we needed to change something. Unfortunately, we kept the same. We kept the same tactics. We kept the same formation and everything, and went into the second game where Gambia walloped us by 2-0. And by the time Tunisia was finishing with us, I think we were already done and dusted, hoping that we could beat Tunisia. And remember, we've always had challenges with Arab teams. So it really gave that impression that we're going to struggle beating Tunisia already after having lost to Gambia. And I think overall we really didn't give the best of the best representation of what we can manage to do. This team is capable of a lot of things, and being COSAFA champions should have at least given us some sort of a boost to understand that we're going there as champions representing the region. But as champions as we were so much humbled by almost all the opponents, because even with Benin, the one that we drew with Benin, I think let's be honest, we were outplayed in that game. We managed to get an equalizer, yes, but still we were outplayed. Something needed to change. I don't know why the technical staff didn't read that. I think that is my overall analysis of the games that we played at the Under-20 Africa Cup of Nations.
So you also blame the technical bench?
Exactly. I think there is something that they should have changed. They should have noticed that from the word go, from the start. They should have noticed that something needed to change, but they didn't. I think they should take the blame.
All right, but the technical bench through Coach Isimbe is also saying it's because of the low IQ of the players. It's also blaming the players. Lameck, I want you to go first. You blamed also the technical bench. The technical bench through the coach is saying, no, it's the players who've got a low IQ.
I somehow understand Coach Isimbe when he talks about IQ of the players compared to the Tunisians. The word IQ, I think, was wrongly used in whatever he wanted to say. I think if he had talked about players being exposed, I think that would have been the best way to use, unlike IQ, because IQ is a whole different topic. Exposure, when you look at the Tunisians, I think they're coming from well-established leagues, well-established teams with good structures. I think with highly qualified coaches and, punch for punch, player for player, I think the Tunisians had players coming from a way better place than us as Zambians. So that may also have contributed to the good performance that the Tunisians had over Zambia. But I think we can't rely so much, or we can't put so much blame on that game, because at the end of the day, we had a team that had played in the COSAFA. So we had a team that had played a number of games together. So we have seen what they were able to do at the COSAFA. I think the play was good. For me, my expectation was after the Gambia game, I think the coach should have at least done one or two things or changes to his formation, to his tactical approach to teams, against teams that I think Gambia, I think also Tunisia. Another thing, he consistently played Dominic Kanda as a lone number 6, which gave the defense a whole lot of pressure, because every time Dominic was paired with another midfielder, we always had problems. Whenever Dominic stepped out of his position, that caused a lot of problems for us. If you look at the Gambia match, the 2 goals that we conceded were because the defense had been dealing with the Gambians for the whole match, almost the whole match. So every attack that was coming was not being dealt by the midfield, but being dealt by the defense, the 2 central defenders. The left, right back, yes, they did their part and all of that, but the 2 center backs were the ones that were dealing with the attacks from the Gambians. And at some point, they were just outrun. They were outdone by a long ball. The first was a long ball, that was tossed by, the opponent and the defenders. That may also show that the defenders got tired, because they had been dealing with the Gambians, the pressure from the Gambians for a whole long time. We were unable to start from the back, our usual start where we start with the goalkeeper to the defense, we progress to the midfield, because we were being pressed high. And then we had no enough midfielders to come and open up more spaces, create more spaces, make those runs to create spaces and enable us to do what? To start from the back. That is also another area that the coaches did not look at. They were comfortable with us hitting the ball high and then go and fight for the ball high when the ball is already high. For me, I felt
low IQ
that is not our play.
Low IQ pamene hapo.
No, it's not about, look, it's different. No, it's different when you're dealing with the older players. When you're managing a big club, like a club which has senior players or professional players, with dealing with players that are below the age of 20, because players below the age of 20 need a lot of coaching. Yes, they may be coached from wherever they're coming from. They have the basics from their academies, but when you come at the national team, you still need to put in more instruction to the boys to how you want them to play, in fact, not pray. And then another thing was lack of consistency from the boys also, I think, really failed us, because we've been known to play our usual game. We play a passing game. So those long balls that we tried to play were not being helpful. Again, the players, I think for that one, the players may be faulted, but at the end of the day, we may not always find faults in everyone. I think in everything that happened, in as much as there was a lot of negative that happened in the tournament, there are maybe one or two positives. The players got exposed, and then going forward, I think better decisions will be made. The selection also was being queried. For me, I don't query the selection. I think the selection was okay. And a whole lot of other stuff that people are talking about, but for me, I think it was just all about the tactical approach that we had against the other teams, because the other teams changed their formations during the game. But for us, we failed to change our formations during the game. We consistently played the same formation throughout the matches. Even when we were losing, the coaches would bring in like-for-like substitutions. When we felt at some point, I think the Gambia match, the coach withdrew Ngambi and brought in Kingston Mutandwa. For me, I felt the coach should have withdrawn a striker and brought in a midfield to allow us to have more of the ball, so that we can at least have more time on the ball and at least have a chance at beating the Gambians. But bringing in another forward was, I think, was a negative on our part, and that led to us losing at the end of the day.
Right. So for you, the selection was just fine. The poor performance was not because of the poor selection. Those are the best players that Chisi could pick from the many Zambians that we have in terms of under 20.
No, not really. The word best is such a big word, and I wouldn't want to use it in line with the selections of the under 20s. I think being available, in terms of being available, I think that was a good selection. For me, that was a good selection. Yes, people want to criticize Atletico Lusaka, but again, if you go down and start looking at what Atletico is doing, what other clubs are doing, I think Atletico are doing so much more than a lot of academies in Zambia. A lot of Super League clubs, a lot of National League clubs are not doing what Atletico is doing. And then when you look at players in the developmental groups, it is so important to look at what is being provided. It is different with a player that comes from a Super League club compared to a player that is coming from an academy like Atletico, because at Atletico they are focusing on developing the player and all of that. But for a Super League club, their goals are different. They're playing to win the league. So when the player is playing, I think it is more about results compared to what Atletico are doing. Yes, results are important, but also the development of the players is also important, which at the end of the day, the under 20s, the under 17s, yes, winning is the primary goal, but again, we also have development in that project that we have.
Great. Lawrence, I wanted also to hear from you concerning Chisi's comments. Say the players have got a low IQ. We all of us tend to wonder why that comment was him who was choosing the players, and the the interview that he had before the tournament, he said they were ready for the tournament. Then after they were booted out, the language or the tone seemed to have changed from the coach, shifting the blame to the boys. I want your quick comment about that.
Well, on my side, I think you know, these are boys that need to be nurtured and to be looked after by him with experience and all that. Chisi has been in the business for quite some time, and I think he should know better how to mold these boys. First and foremost, when you talk of low IQ, probably he was trying to talk of the exposure that these players have had of so far. But it was interesting to see pictures coming from the boys in pre-match instances where they are warming up and preparing for a game or something like that, and you'll be seeing them taking selfies and all that kind of a thing. Some pictures were actually all over social media, and you wonder what they are doing in camp when they are being led to, instead of preparing for a match, they are taking selfies and all that. That is not why they went there in the first place. They should focus on the things that took them there, and that was the business on the pitch, and probably trying to have some memories of themselves in such tournaments is understandable. But I think it should not have taken so much priority for the boys. Well, we cannot blame them so much for that. I think the coach should have laid down some rules concerning such kinds of things. And again, the bus stops at Chisi's door. So probably the exposure they've had, the infrastructure they were seeing there, the attention they have gotten so much from there is something that maybe some of them were so much excited about. But I think the coach should have laid down there are rules that should be put in place for every camp and all that. So I think for me, when you talk of low IQ, I don't know if he's talking about the IQ on the pitch also, but watching our team was very devastating, to be honest. Where you could see the only thing, I think there was most of the games there was a lone striker. We have a lone striker up front, who everybody at the back was kicking balls for to chase around. I mean, we should see a system in place, and in most instances we were mostly under pressure. In most of these games we were under pressure most of the times, and we had a defense that was being overworked, that was running around, chasing the opponents, trying to close down the opponents and all that. And whenever we had the ball, we could not build up with the ball and have something happening in front. The only thing that could happen was the ball being kicked in front. And in the end, the ball kept on coming and pressure was always on us. So where are his tactics there? If the boys were not following his tactics, you cannot come back and say, no, this is low IQ or something like that. He should have switched something up. If his tactics seems not to resonate with the boys, there is something that he could have changed. He should have had an option B, when it comes to tactics. When this doesn't work, we should be able to fall back on this. But we didn't see all that. In everything, in all angles that you look at it, the bus stops at Chisi himself. So I really did not understand his comments and all that. Probably he needs to elaborate more on what exactly he meant.
Great. In terms of preparation, we saw the team play 3 friendly games. The team arrived about 10 days before the tournament to acclimatize themselves with the weather there. In terms of preparation, do you think FAS supported these boys according for them to perform the tournament, or maybe three games were not enough, Lameck?
Okay, for me, I think FAS did their part. 3 friendly matches is enough to prepare for a tournament in such a short period. I think that was okay in preparation. The tournament itself, yeah, disappointing as it was, but the preparation, I think FAS did their part and can't be faulted for for the poor performance of the team.
Right. Let me spin this. Let's spin the topic like this. In the absence of Chisimbewe, Red Arrows started performing picking up points with the assistant coach. Yes, Lameck, you're smiling. I wanted to understand. Do you think now Chisimbewe's role at Red Arrows is being threatened?
No, there's nothing like Chisimbewe's role at Red Arrows being threatened. At the end of the day, I think the Red Arrows bench still was in communication with Chisimbewe in as much as they were preparing for the matches and everything like that. I think he also had an input on the games that he wasn't around. It's common that when the head coach maybe leaves, the assistant coach will sit in and win a game or two. And then look at, history tends to repeat itself. A lot of Super League clubs have fired head coaches or sent head coaches on administrative leaves. And then during that period, the assistant coach wins 3-4 matches, given the job, and then you're back again to square one. So for me, I don't think Chisimbewe's job is under threat at Red Arrows. I think he's a respected man. He's done what Red Arrows, he achieved something that Red Arrows failed to achieve in 18 years. And if you look at the coaches that Red Arrows had in the 18 years, they are respectable names. So he's a respected man at the Air Force team. So for me, I think he'll get back and we'll see what he brings to the team. If the team continues winning, maybe he may, struggle a bit, but I don't think his job is under threat.
Lawrence, what's your comment?
Well, I look at it as somehow a blessing in disguise for them. Not really that they want to fire Chisimbewe, but the fact that probably the team needed some sort of anyway, I'm putting it in the concept that we are used to in the Zambian setup, where a coach is put on leave when the results are bad, and then you hear no, they will be brought back and all that. But at the end of the day, I don't think Chisimbewe's tenure is done at Red Arrows. He will be back, and I believe he also has an input, even if he has been absent. He's had some sort of an input on the team selections and all that, and training routines and all that for the team, even if he has not been around. So him being away, that has not meant that he has completely had no hand with whatever is happening at the club. He's had the hand, of course, and whatever the assistant coach is doing back home, he's always been in touch with Chisi, obviously, and there's been some input from Chisi, and it's working from there. So whatever they are doing right now, even when Chisi is back, they should continue doing and try to push and see if results continue coming their way. So there is no need to do away with the coach at this point in time.
Thanks, James. It's a new month, and it's March. ABSA Cup is back. We saw the draws on Wednesday. Buffaloes, Rangers, Power Dynamos, Mufulira Wanderers, Eagles, Trident, Arrows, and Muza will be fighting for a 700,000 kwacha in the ABSA Cup. Who is the favorite to win this? Do you think Power Dynamos can go ahead and win the Premier League and also lift the ABSA Cup?
Well, cup games are completely different, and they just bring something different in the whole football setup whatsoever. It's not practical to say since Power Dynamos is doing fine in the league, then they automatically go on to win the cup as well. Things won't work like that. But you cannot rule them out, because they've had a very good spell. Even when things were not going their way, they were not losing, they were just drawing. So it shows that Power should be a force to reckon with at this point in time. But honestly speaking, it's remember, it's Waluza Wachoka, and anything is possible at this point in time. And teams tend to put in their best when it comes to cups, because I think it's a quickest way to get a trophy somehow, because you just count how many games you have to win, and you are lifting a trophy. So well, it's tricky, but I can't rule out Power completely. But also, I'm not saying they should win it. I don't think so. I don't know who will win it. I really can't predict right now.
Maybe Lameck, maybe might Awine Chungulo might have a chance and pick this one up, or Trident, another surprise package like NAPSA surprised us the other season. A team from National League picking up the ABSA Cup.
Power Mighty has always been a tough match for Power Dynamos. I think Power fans know that. But at this particular moment, Power is on a very good run. I think they are serious contenders for winning the ABSA Cup. But again, ABSA Cup is a different ballgame compared to the league games. And that aspect of National League teams competing against the Super League clubs is another aspect that even makes the matches more difficult. For Power Dynamos, I don't think they'll walk over Mufulira Wanderers. I've watched the Wanderers side. I wasn't too impressed, but I think Power may be given a good run. But I'm pretty sure Power will beat Wanderers on that one. And then for the other matches, I think Red Arrows Buffaloes. Comments made by Bakala back, I think some weeks back when Buffaloes drew against the Forest, he made some really interesting comments saying that he never saw any team better than his Forest Rangers team. I think this is his time to now prove that actually there's no better team than Forest Rangers in the league. They're coming from 2 losses. Tomorrow, yes, they'll be on Sunday. In fact, they'll be playing against FC Musa, a team that beat them in the first round. Again, FC Musa against Red Arrows in Mazabuka, first leg in the league, ended 0-0. ABSA Cup, a different ball game. I think Musa is an exciting team. Red Arrows is also an exciting team. But Red Arrows is beatable. We've seen that. They lost, I think, 6+ games towards the end of last year and the beginning of this year. I think they lost a number of games back to back. So they're a team that are beatable. For Green Eagles, Trident, yes, they may be the surprise package in the ABSA Cup. Green Eagles is beatable also. Trident, I think we have a good number of players. I think we have some quality. We also look at, I think the whole ABSA Cup put together. I think it's a good tournament for Zambia. I was hopeful that maybe in the coming years we may incorporate more teams and just make it an official like FA Cup or something, because it is our only cup tournament we have in Zambia. But I think the matches are tricky. Predicting a winner of the ABSA Cup today may not. I think right now I can't predict. I think we need to watch the quarterfinals. Then the semi-final stage, I think names will come up. But I think Power are one of the serious contenders. The Green Buffaloes, I think Forest Rangers are also contenders. I am also giving FC Musa a shot at this. I think FC Musa are also a team that may come in as a surprise team because they have a really exciting coach. I think Coach Lameck Banda is a really exciting coach who, a modern
namesake. That's why you're supporting.
Yeah, but I think a fair draw for all teams. We just wait to see what action, the action-packed weekend of the ABSA Cup.
All right, thanks. So ABSA Cup is coming up next week at Woodland Stadium. The first games will be Buffaloes and Rangers on Saturday. Power Dynamos and Wanderers. Those are the games that will be played on Saturday. Double header at Woodland Stadium. Then on Sunday, We'll see Eagles fighting against Trident team from Division 1, then Arrows in the second game against Musa. Musa, a surprising package this season. Let's move on the program. Let's look at the influence of Andy Boyeli at Power Dynamos. In all the games that he's played, either he has assisted or he has scored goals. Lameck, do you think he's going to go all the way and become get the golden boot or the top scorer?
The race for the golden boot is heating up, but for Power Dynamos, I think Boyeli has a shot at winning, the golden boot at the end of the season, because his closest competitor, I think, a player that he's competing with, which is Wisdom Moela, is struggling with injury right now for Forest Rangers. That also has affected Forest Rangers in the last few games. Andrew Piri, who's the nearest with 8 goals, I think he has seen a dip in form. I think if Boyeli can manage to score a number of goals and widen the gap between the chasing pack and him, I think he has a big chance of winning the crown, the golden boot. But at the end of the day, for Power Dynamos, it is not about Andy Boyeli. I continue arguing that it is not about Andy Boyeli. I think Power Dynamos story, if Power Dynamos are going to win the league, I think the biggest credit will go to Owen Tembo, Linus Makwaza, I think Frederick Mulambia, and then Joshua Mutale. I think these boys are the ones grinding the results. With all due respect to everyone in the team.
Lameck, sorry for stopping, but let's look at these Power Dynamos without Andy Boyeli. They drew 4 games in a row. You remember that run in January? They were not scoring goals until the day that Andy Boyeli joined the team, created a pass, an assist to Mulambia, scored. The last 2 games for Power Dynamos, the man that has been scoring goals for them. Remember, he scored an equalizer against Lesco United, scored a brace against Kawi Warriors. It seems he's also will be part of the people to be named if Power Dynamos is going to lift the trophy.
Yeah, so I mean, I can't discredit Boyeli, the influence that he has on that Power Dynamos team, but I think Power Dynamos are mostly about Frederick Mulambia. I think also his counterpart Joshua Mutale. I think these 2 boys, and also Linus, Owen Tembo, the John Sokos, everyone in the team, I think, is contributing towards the success of the team right now. But I think the understanding between Mulambia and Boyeli is what is getting Boyeli the goals. Because if you watch the 5 games, the biggest contributor in terms of assists has been Frederick Mulambia to the goals that Boyeli has scored. So these 2 boys, Mutale and also Mulambia, have actually created a partnership with Boyeli that gives Boyeli a slight advantage compared to the other teams that the other strikers in the team. We have seen a little from Brian Miller, I think a striker with a lot of potential that can succeed at any club in the country right now. We've also seen Thomas Chideyu come in and scoring, but Boyeli is influential. But I think the Power Dynamo story wouldn't be complete without talking about Joshua Mutale and Frederick Mulambia, because these 2 boys, I think, are the ones that are running Power Dynamos at the moment.
So if still talking of Power Dynamos, there'll be away to Beautycon, a team that is really, really suffering this season. And I don't know if you followed the news that was coming from Choma. We were told when they went to play Green Eagles last week, the team without a team doctor. They used the team doctor for Green Eagles. We are told the keeper just left the pitch, and the technical bench was surprised why the goalkeeper just walked out of the pitch. What really is happening at Beautycon?
I think sometimes for a club, I think lack of structures may also be a problem to what is happening at Butcon. I think it's a team that was sponsored by an individual. I don't think the team had that big structure in terms of executive, all these other structures that come and lead down to the team, the technical bench, and everything like that. I think that has been the problem with the Butcon. And then regarding the recent form, I think it's mostly about what is happening in the background. That is what is translating to what is happening on the pitch. I think the background work being done at Butcon is not enough for a club in the Super League. I think a lot should be done to save Butcon. Look at Lusaka Dynamos. I think these are two clubs that were sponsored by individuals, but right now are struggling because of, I think, lack of proper structures for a club. And then also, I think there are clubs that have lesser budgets than Butcon and Lusaka Dynamos, but they are doing so much well. But I think the clubs need to sit down and re-strategize, redo their approach, and then I think there are clubs that are here to stay. I think if they are to sit down and replan for the coming seasons.
Can they push an upset against Power Dynamos?
Yeah, an upset is possible because results are not picked before the match is played. So Power Dynamos are wary that Butcon come with a risk. They may just pull up a shocker. Power Dynamos hasn't lost in a lot of matches. So Butcon may just be that team that will beat Power Dynamos. Who knows? But Power are on a run, and then they have a belief that they don't want to lose. They want to win the league. So that is their drive. For me, I think that is what is driving Power Dynamos. And then Butcon should be wary of what Power Dynamos can do.
Great. The run for the top four is on, and one of the fixtures that you earlier on had talked about was the Forest versus Musa game, another game that will be played this Sunday. Both teams are really struggling, fighting to play Continental this season. Of course, many of us maybe couldn't have predicted these teams might be in the top four. How do you make of the game between Forest Rangers and Musa FC?
It's a match that I'm closely following. I want to see what FC Musa can do. I think going back, Musa have done so much good work on the Copper Belt, but the match against the Forest Rangers is a tight one. Forest have lost 2. So Musa are coming in, they just beat ZSL United with a lot of controversy, a lot of issues being talked about. Coming into this game, Forest, yes, they may go in with that zeal to win. They want to get back to winning ways. But again, Musa has been a difficult team to beat on the Copper Belt. Only Nkana FC have beaten Musa on the Copper Belt. So Musa are no pushovers. It's a really tight match, and it's being played at Levi Mwanawasa Stadium. I think Musa haven't lost this season at Levi Mwanawasa. They drew against ZSL United 1-1. So against Forest Rangers, we will have to wait and see. But I think Musa may just pull up an upset on the Copper Belt again.
Lawrence, it's Forest Rangers versus Musa. Both teams fighting to play Continental next season. What's your prediction? Forest Rangers at home away from home, because they'll be playing at Levi Mwanawasa instead of Doha. You're muted, Lawrence. We can't get you. We can't get you, Lawrence. And then maybe it's me. Lameck, can you hear Lawrence?
I I can't get what he's saying.
We can't hear. I don't know what is wrong with the device. Okay. Let's look at the first game, the early kickoff on Saturday. Chambishi versus Nkwazi, two teams that are fighting uh, relegation. We know Nkwazi is second from the bottom, and Chambishi is just above them. Chambishi that fired the coach and then appointed Mujembe. Remember that also Nkwazi appointed Oswald Dapa and brought back Makik as assistant. Another game that we need to look out for in terms of the relegation battle. I don't know. Who do you think can pick up the 3 points in this game?
I think it's a tough match for both teams. This one will be a relegation 6-pointer. I think the determinant of that match is the fact that it will be played at Nkana Stadium. I think the result would have been different if it was played at at Chambishi Stadium.
Chambishi.
But it being played at Nkana Stadium, that is more of a neutral venue for both teams. So that may also be a contributor to the result that will come tomorrow. But overall, I think Chambishi, they are not so bad. Yes, they lost 5-1 against Red Arrows, but they are not so bad. I think they can get out of that red zone and then survive relegation. For Nkwazi FC, I think they need to continue picking results. They lost against Buffaloes. They beat Zanaco, yes, but on the road, Nkwazi are not the best travelers.
Yeah, I wanted to say the same. Last week they were also involved in the relegation battle. Still lost to Buitcon. Things are not happening for them.
Yeah, for Nkwazi they lost to Green Buffaloes.
They lost to Green Buffaloes. So yeah.
Yeah, they lost to Green Buffaloes. Coming into tomorrow's match, I think the decider may just be the stadium being used. I think will have an effect on how both teams play. Nkwazi at Nkana Stadium, I think they have a good run at Nkana Stadium. I think they've managed to pick vital points at Nkana Stadium. So Chambishi, on the other part, yes, last season they beat Nkana at Nkana Stadium. But coming into this match, I think it will be a whole different ballgame, considering that it is a relegation 6-pointer. Again, both teams coming from a loss will also have an effect on the results that we'll have tomorrow.
You at Nkana Stadium, for Nkana, who are also in a good form of late, playing against a team that is not consistent in Prison Leopards. So they started so strongly this season, but over a sudden, they can't keep up the consistency. The team that wins today draws tomorrow, lose, just like that. How do you think this game will turn out?
I think Nkana are playing some good brand of football, and then David Kabala coming in and bringing in the goals is what Nkana really needed from the start of this season. For Prison Leopards, yes, they managed to beat Nkana last season at Nkana Stadium. This time out, I don't think Prison Leopards may pull an upset on Nkana tomorrow, but it is a tight match that we expect tomorrow, but I think Nkana may have a slight edge over Prison Leopards.
Great. Let's look at another team that's struggling of late in Zanaco. They're at home at Sunset Stadium against Green Eagles. Green Eagles coming from a big win in Choma, 4-0 beating Buitcon. Do you think that confidence after winning Buitcon 4-0, they might continue banging goals against struggling Zanaco?
The Zanaco match, it's a tough match for Green Eagles. On the road, Eagles this season haven't been the best. Zanaco also, having lost to Nkwazi last time they were home, I think For me, I think Zanaco may have that slight edge over Green Eagles. For the player, I think Zanaco are playing also having a good brand of football. They are just struggling with getting someone to get them goals.
All right. Let's look at the game. Let's end it with an ABSA game. NAPSA also they've lost form. They're playing against a rejuvenated Kabwe Warriors and away at President Stadium in Kabwe. Not an easy place to pick up points. We've seen most of the team dropping points when they play Kabwe Warriors there in Kabwe. NAPSA is traveling to Kabwe this weekend. They'll be playing against Kabwe Warriors. Njanji Ninja.
NAPSA under Perry Mudapa are no pushover. I think the experience that Perry has from his playing days, I think he's translating it to him being a coach. He has a lot of influence on that team. Coming into the match, I think Kabwe Warriors are looking very, very good under Numbamamba.
Yep.
I think a win for Kabwe Warriors.
A win for Kabwe Warriors. All right, let's end it here, Lameck. But before you go, I don't know which game are you watching this weekend, and how are you going to spend your weekend?
For me, I'll be following the Zanaco Green Eagles match, and also on Sunday I'll be following the double header, the Musa versus Forest Rangers, and also the Buttecon Power Dynamos match.
Thanks, Lameck, for coming through, and also thanks, Lawrence. Thank you to our viewers. This has been U20 Sports. We come here to help you understand exactly what is happening in terms of Zambian football. We appreciate you for watching this program, and see you next week, same time. Bye bye from us.